Well, let's put the spotlight then first up on Pentathlon Ventures. They're building a SaaS ecosystem, looking at a Fund 2 portfolio, how they're looking to build that, as well as what the view is on capital being deployed in promising sectors. Joining in is Sandeep Chawda. He's a managing partner at Pentathlon Ventures. Good to have you on board. Thanks so much for joining in. Let's just talk a little bit more about the investments made in Fund 2 with $55 million.
I am part of Pentathlon Ventures. Pentathlon is a fund house which we started about 4 years ago, with a focus on being a fund by the entrepreneurs for the entrepreneurs. We did decide to have a very laser focus on companies which are pure plain B2B SaaS. So we didn't want to invest in anything and everything. So Pentathlon as a company is a pure plain B2B SaaS, and all the founders have an entrepreneurial background. We are, we are folks who have started software companies, who have scaled them, who have got exits from there. And as part of our next endeavor, we decided to see if, instead of doing one more startup, if we can have a role in scaling 25 or 50 startups. So that's the background.
Sure. So what kind of growth are you envisaging for the B2B sector?
Right. So, when in a way, when you talked about startups originating from India, the first thought which comes to mind and which used to come to mind long ago has been in the B2C space, right? Given the demographic advantage of the consumer population in India and so far. But we've seen that over the last few years, it's been the B2B companies which are becoming very successful. And the stage at which we are, right, which is early stage, we invest in a company when it is early revenue, and then, have our journey with them, helping them scale from, say, anywhere between when they are like $100,000 to $200,000 in revenue to maybe about $10-15 million in revenue, right? So in that journey, and for that space, I see very many new opportunities coming up, very interesting solutions to problems which are all new age problems coming up, and so I am in particular very bullish about what is in stores for all these startup companies. In general, I have a feeling that like the last 2 decades or so in the software space belong to software services startups originating from India. I think the next 2 decades will belong to software product startups, which will be built from India, and they will scale globally.
Right. And given that you're looking across sectors, which are some of the sectors that, according to you, are the most promising?
So I wouldn't go so much into sectors, but I would go into, our fund is a horizontal fund, and we are into B2B SaaS, agnostic of industry verticals. But I think overall technology sector, in the sense that, technology being used to differentiate in the business value propositions, towards enablement of businesses, towards making them far more effective. Anything which is driven through digital transformation of businesses is going to find a lot of favor.
Can you walk us through the portfolio of the companies that have been invested in Fund 1 as well as in Fund 2?
Sure. So, we have just begun investing in the second fund. So I'll walk you through some of the companies in the first fund's portfolio. Let me give you an example of a company called Deep Tech, right? This company is into AI-based radiology solutions. So what the company does is that uses AI technology towards diagnosis of radiology scans, like your chest X-ray or other solutions. Other radiology scans, and they have been able to diagnose various aspects of those scans to the tune of about 97% accuracy of what a certified radiologist would be able to do. So clearly, it's not going to replace the radiologists, but it's going to help, make it far more effective for the radiologists, and it's going to add a lot to their efficiency, etc. The company was at a fairly early stage when we invested in them. Now it has gone places. It's also got a US FDA approval, so it's going to establish a lot more traction in the US. It's already been seeing very good results in Asia, Southeast Asia countries. There is another company called Dista, which is into location intelligence. So it uses intelligence related to map location of various aspects. It could have use cases in the sales side of things. It could have use cases in the support side of things, service side of things. So using map location data and building intelligence on top of it towards improving the overall effectiveness of businesses. In a nutshell, is what it provides. And overall, there have been about 23 companies. I can go on and on. Let me know if you want me to walk through a few more companies.
There have been quite a few concerns that, the startup ecosystem is still not recovered from the funding winter, and that the after effects of that will only continue into the next year. Your thoughts?
I am foreseeing a turnaround. Now it's not going to go back to where things were maybe a year and a half, 2 years back, because I think that was a lot of froth. That wasn't good for the software ecosystem in itself. Now what we are seeing is that in spite of the somewhat rough last 12 months or so, almost all the startups in our portfolio, which wanted to raise more growth capital because they were doing very well, they have been able to raise. It's been tough for them, but they have been able to raise capital. So I think there is still good amount of growth capital available for companies which are able to demonstrate good value proposition of growth and all. Now the valuations have rationalized, in my opinion. I mean, they have come down, but it's down to what it has been conventionally. So valuations have rationalized, and all these things work well for the startup ecosystem. It works well for the founder because those who are doing well get funding. It works well for the investors because it's there is no deals which are primarily being driven by the euphoria and factors other than the performance of the startup. So overall, I think this goes very well for all the players in the ecosystem. I am very positive about what 2024 holds for the software ecosystem.
And I heard that you believe that, there is enough capital in the ecosystem to be deployed in early stage bets. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and talk about how promising this looks?
Early stage for sure. Early stage for sure. There is a lot of capital available for being deployed. And because the check sizes are not as big, right? And second is, a lot of players who are large size funds and are later stage funds, because there has been some amount of slowdown in the later stages, are also looking at deploying capital on the early stage. So early stage is going to have the needful capital for sure.
And what's the long-term view then for Pentathlon Ventures?
So, like you're pointing out, I mean, Pentathlon is a fund house, and all these funds are going to be vehicles. We have just launched our second fund, right? So the priority and focus would be to invest in about 25 startups in the next, I would say, 2.5 years. So we aim to invest in about two companies roughly every quarter, and the pipeline is excellent to be able to do that. Now, Fund 3 and beyond, I think we will look at when we get to a reasonable milestone in terms of our Fund 2's journey, right? So we are not looking at launching a Fund 3 immediately. The priority and focus would be to pick the right companies for our second fund's portfolio.